We're glad you're here. If you are still worshiping with us online, we are glad you're with us this morning as well. You know, this virus over the past few months has been a challenge all across the board. It's challenging for leadership and decisions that we have to make. And we have based those decisions on the best information that we have, and we'll continue to do that as time goes on and make necessary changes as we see fit. So please bear with us and pray for us that God will give us wisdom to make those decisions when the time comes. I posted this on our Facebook Messenger yesterday. You know, during this time, the technology has served a great purpose when we were not able to assemble together. We were still able to keep in contact together via Facebook Messenger and virtual worship. We try to make phone calls to everybody, and if we miss some of you, we apologize. We apologize for that. But why it is important for us to remain physically safe, it is also important for us to remain spiritually healthy as well. It is eternal, essential that we stay spiritually safe. So we hope and pray that those of you who still cannot be here physically, that in time you will be able to, and you'll know when that time is, and we pray that you'll come back with us, because we know that there is no substitution for being together in person to worship God together. So let's worship this morning together. I care not today what tomorrow may bring, if shadow or sunshine or rain. The Lord ruleth for everything, and all of my worry is vain. Living by faith in Jesus above, trusting confiding in His great love. Living by faith in Jesus above, trusting confiding in His great love. From sin, His sheltering arm, I'm living by faith and feel the world long. I know shall know his name confessed in heaven. Then onward from the hills of light, our hearts with love aflame will vanquish all the hosts of night in Jesus' conquering name. Faith is the victory. Faith is the victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world.
If you were to come up with a word for the day, don't think about what it is. What would be your word for the day? Mass? Anger. What's your word for today? What's some good words for today? Blessed. Blessing. That's
Salvation.
okay. See, I can't see who's answering now. Your mouth is covered.
Salvation.
Salvation. What else? Honor. Honor. Anything? What? Jesus. I mean, we could go on, and because there are like faith is the victory. That's a wonderful way to look at life. And we choose one way or another. Maybe we don't choose directly like we did this morning, but we kind of choose a word. We kind of choose a thing for the base life to really and truly decide that this is what we're going to live today. And so that's been kind of hard lately. It's been kind of hard to just kind of ignore many of the things that are going on, and yet we still are children of God. And so we still are people of faith. That song, Faith is Victory, gives us all kinds of wonderful, wonderful encouragement, but we got to really accept it. We got to really take it on. We got sick people. We've got people who are worried, and people who are trying to make ends meet, make things go, and so we've been looking and praying for a lot of people. If you're not on Facebook Messenger, if you can get on, please do. There's a lot of praying going on Facebook Messenger. That's kind of where the communication has come and is being mailed in the time to those who are in need. And the more people that get on there, the better coverage. Just we don't have to go things like that. So if you would, let's pray. Father, it's a joy to be here. It's a wonder, again, to know that we can belong to you, that we can be your children. We come, we're encouraged, Father, and we are anxious to be, to be people who are unique from the world, but not unique from faith, that live out faith, which will make us kind of odd. Father, help us to pick a word. Help us to pick a thought. Help us to pick a matter of who we are and what we're going to be and do in our lives. We pray for those who are sick. Father, several who are some are on men and some are still really challenged. We got others who are worried about them coming to overcross the virus. Yet our faith is in you, and Father, whatever occurs, we will honor you. That's the commitment, Father, we're doing. No matter what occurs, people will look at us and see Jesus. And now we have time to celebrate. Oh, this is a good time for our church family. So, Father, those who are in their homes and are looking at the live stream, or they'll see video this afternoon, or those who are here, may this be that we offer you, and it be a sweet aroma to you with our love and our faith. In Jesus' name we pray.
What about hope?
Yeah.
This is not a hope that I hope it won't rain tomorrow. This is a sure hope that we have of being with our Father one day. My hope is built on nothing less. I hope yours is as well. Let's stand. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. On Christ the solid rock I stand. All of the ground is sinking sand. All of the ground is shall come with trumpet sound. Oh, may I then in him be found, dressed in his righteousness alone, far blessed to stand before the throne. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand, all other ground is sinking sand. I'm pressing on the upward way, new heights I'm gaining every day, still praying as I onward bound. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. Lord, lift me up and let me stand, my faith on heaven's tableland, the higher plane that I have found. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. My heart has no desire to stay where doubts arise and fears dismay. No Uh-oh,
Drink connected.
what happened?
I don't know. Be careful.
Oh, no.
I guess it's Donovan's time.
Huh?
I guess it's Donovan's time.
No, it is.
TV movie.
That was weird.
It's okay.
He broke it.
Oh, whatever.
Well, I just talking about
Come on, Donovan. You're trying virus. That was strange. Nothing surprises me anymore. 2020 is full of surprises.
That was a scary. Yes, right. Y'all just go ahead and listen to this is what we do.
Well, I promise I'll keep it under 45 minutes this time.
Oh, yeah. Amen.
Maybe give me a lot of time.
Good morning. I'm so glad to be here this morning. Again, I think I said it last week, and I'll keep saying it. It's super exciting and encouraging to just be able to be with each other again. It's super exciting and encouraging to be able to sing praises together. I don't know if you guys hear it, but the singing is amazing. And I imagine it sounds a lot better to God. So just stay encouraged, keep on coming, and don't fall asleep this morning. All right, so we were talking about Matthew chapter 7, where Jesus is finishing up the Sermon on the Mount, and he's already dropped just a bunch of information, good information, on the disciples and on the people that are listening. And he's closing this sermon, like I would close a sermon, or like Mark would close a sermon. He's closing this sermon with more information, more things that we need to know, more things that they need to know. And so we talked about last week, there's 4 things, 4 points here at the end of this Sermon on the Mount. And so the first one was how to treat others. How are we going to treat other people? Well, we should treat them like we would want to be treated. We want to be treated well. Okay, and then how will you be known? How will the world know you? How will they know me? So this week we're going to close out these 4 points with 2 points. 2 very simple points here to go through because they're very, very easy. Will you even be known by God? And what's wise? Doing what's wise. And so we start with this idea of being known by God. So Matthew chapter 7, verses 21 through 23. We'll read that with me. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day, then he will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and do many mighty works in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. Now I want you to imagine. I watched the movie, and I can't remember what movie it was, but it was this Middle Eastern family. And the daughter, one of the daughters, decided that she wanted to become Christian. They were Muslim, and she grew up Muslim. She grew up in this faith, and she decided that she wanted to become a Christian. And so, not only did her family say, we don't want you to be a Christian, but they kicked her out, and she came home begging for mercy from her family, and her father said, go away from me, I don't know you. You're no daughter of mine. Now I want you to imagine, you go home today, and you call your parents, or you see your parents, and you try to talk to them like you would talk to your parents. And they say, I have no idea who you are. Why are you calling me? Why are you in my home? Why are you talking to me? I don't know who you are. You're no child of mine. Imagine that. I can imagine if I went home and I talked to my grandma and she said, I have no idea who you are. Depart from me. Get out of my house. I would be heartbroken. Can you imagine? This idea that something you've done, something that you said, something that you did, the way that you were living your life was something so bad that the person who's supposed to love you the most says, I don't know you. I don't want to know you. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom. Because I'll declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. See, far too often we get comfortable in our life. We get comfortable with the way that we're living. We get comfortable with the things that we choose in our life. And the world tells us that these things are okay. These things are good. But what God says is, don't get so comfortable, because the things that you think are okay probably aren't okay. The things that you think you should be doing, you might not need to be doing. But we choose them anyways. Because they're comfortable. They're easy. Let me ask you, what kind of weight does that carry? Eternally. See, last week I said something towards the end about how a lot of times we choose our politics, or we choose the things that we're comfortable with. You know, that's not the way my mom did it, or that's not the way that my grandparents did it, and so that's how I'm going to do it. Well, what kind of weight does that carry? What kind of weight does that carry on our eternal souls? Because if we're honest, a lot of the things that we do drag us down. A lot of the things that we choose keep us away from God. And so the things that we're comfortable with, the things that we like to do, the things that we're just used to doing, what kind of effect does it have on our relationship with God? Because not everyone who says, we're not, let me bring that into modern terms. Not everyone who says, I'm a Christian, not everyone who puts Christian on their Facebook profile is a Christian. Not everyone who gets dunked in water is a Christian. Christ says it. Not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, not everyone who calls on my name will be considered my child. See, I could end the sermon there. And that would leave you wondering, am I a child of God? At least you should wonder with that question. Because, like I said, a lot of times we get too comfortable. We get so comfortable in the lives that we live in. We get so comfortable in this faith that we have, where, well, I go to church on Sunday, and I go to church on Wednesday, and I read my Bible. That's got to be good enough. Christ says, they'll say, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and cast out demons in your name, and do many mighty works in your name? He says, people are going to say that they did a lot of things for me. But did they do it for me? And did they do what I commanded they do for me? See, Jesus is preaching a lesson. And he's saying this at the end of preaching this huge lesson. I mean, this is far greater than any lesson that I'll ever preach. Because it's got so many different lessons in it. And then he says this to conclude. And what he's saying is, you may claim my name. But just because you claim the name of me and my Father doesn't mean that you're going to be it doesn't mean you're going to make the cut to get to heaven. He says, you got to walk the walk. And you got to talk the talk. You got to be what you say you are. You got to live what you say you live. And he's saying, you don't get to wear my name. You don't get to claim my name around this world living just like everybody else. You don't get to do that and think it's enough. I said this last week. A lot of times, what we'll do is we'll live lives that are just like the world. Right? We do that. You know, people can see us and say, he's not much different than I am. In fact, that is an atheist's number one thing that they're going to say is, why would I believe in a God that doesn't really change people or that doesn't really show in the people that claim to follow him? Why would I come to a church where everybody in that building acts just like me? They do all the same things I do. They say all the same things I say. They believe all the same things I say. The only difference is they wake up early on Sunday morning. That'd be a pretty lousy reason to go to church, wouldn't it? To wake up early. Because if we're honest, what we show the world a lot of times isn't anything that's worth going to church for, or isn't anything that's worth giving up your life for. It's not true Christianity. It's not pure Christianity. Not everyone who claims the name of Christ is living as Christ would have them live. Let's look at James chapter 1. James chapter 1 verses 22 through 27. James chapter 1 verses 22 through 27. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away and at once forgets what he was like. But the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres, being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts, he will be blessed in his doing. Now if anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. Let's read that again. If anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. See, religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. See, what we read there is that religion is good when it's pure. When it's what it was intended to be. It's not a checklist. Let me say that again. It's not a checklist, the same checklist that a lot of us subscribe to for some reason. It's not that. But it's about doing good and being good. See, a lot of times we forget that last part. We like to do good things, but we don't like to be good. See, we go back and he says, if anyone thinks he's religious, does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. Let me tell you something. Last week I harped on Facebook a lot, because we're all on Facebook. This week, Facebook was so much better. So I don't know if you guys listened to my sermon or if your phones weren't working or what, but this week Facebook was so much better. Thank you. Okay? Thank you guys. And honestly, I've been trying to be a little bit better. I've fallen into small habits of getting debates, and I need to cut it out. But look, this week Facebook has been so much better, and I hope we can keep up that trend. And I know we're all trying. And hey, if we're not doing anything but trying, we're doing good, right? We gotta try. Okay? And so a lot of us have been bridling our tongue. We've been watching what we say. We've been trying to lead the discussion a little bit closer to grace than before. And that's awesome. Because before what we were doing is we weren't bridling our tongues. And some of us still aren't, but hey, we're working on it. We're trying to watch what we say and watch how we say things to people and make sure that what we say is wholesome and is good for the cause of Christ. That makes our religion worth something. Well, it partially makes our religion worth something. We still got some more things to work on, but hey, if we're working on what we say, that's good. And so what we read is if someone is religious or thinks he's religious and he doesn't watch what he says, it's worthless. If you're deceiving your heart, your religion is worthless. And so it's about doing good and being good. I want you to read Matthew 25 with me. Matthew chapter 25, verse 31 to 46. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne. And before him will be gathered all the nations, and he will separate people one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on his right and the goats on the left. And then the king will say to those on the right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Then the righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you? Or when did we see you thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer them, "Truly I say to you, as you did to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me." Then he will say to those on his left, "Depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you didn't welcome me. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick, and in prison, and you did not visit me." And then they will also answer, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to you?" Then he will answer them, saying, "Truly I say to you, as you did not do to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me." And these will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. So here's the message. Do good to everyone, in all ways, and be good in all ways. And I don't want you to hear this and think that what I'm saying, or I don't want you to hear this and hear Jesus saying that just because, or that you see someone hungry or sick or naked and you give them food or medicine and you visit them and you give them clothes. That's what you are supposed to take from it, but it's more than that. It's when you encounter somebody on the street, how do you approach them? Because Jesus says, as you did or did not do to the least of these, you did to me. So when you see someone who you think is less than, how do you approach them? How do you talk to them? How do you treat them? We talk about politics. We think the person that disagrees with us is less than. How do we treat them? We talked about last week, and like I said, Facebook has gotten so much better. Because we've stopped, or for the most part, we've stopped calling people names, and we've gotten better about how we talk about other people and their beliefs, and we've gotten better about how we talk to other people about their beliefs. How do we approach those people? How do we talk to them or talk about them? What about that person that just rubs you the wrong way? And you never like them, and they always seem to get on that one nerve that's really hard to get on, but they find it every time. How do you treat them? You got hair on. How do you treat them? Yeah, you treat them like that hair sometimes, but we need to be a little more delicate, a little more gentle, right? Those fruits of the Spirit. We go back to that. We should every time. You don't need to hear this and think that it's just about giving someone hungry food, or that it's just about giving someone poor money, because it's not just that. If we read it like that, then we go back to that checklist. And this faith that we live, this religion that we have, it's never been about a checklist. When we make it that, we defile that religion. But this is all about transformation. And all of us transform in different ways. And I'm hoping that something I say might transform something in your heart to hear that what I do to other people, what I say to other people, how I treat other people, has every bit to do with my faith as the Bible I read, as the sermons that I listen to, as the songs that I sing, because how you treat people is a direct representation of the Christ that you claim. Christ says, as you do to them, you're doing it to me. And so when you see that person that you think is less than, the way that you treat them, the way that I treat them, is a direct representation of how I treat Christ in my relationship. We have to remember that. Now, if you're still not convinced, that the way that you treat other people is important to the way that the world sees you and the way that God sees you, if you're still not convinced, after hearing what I said, and not just what I said, but what Jesus himself said, and what the Holy Spirit calls man to write, if you're not convinced after hearing that, I want you to hear this, and hopefully this will convince us. This is Jesus' closing statement in Matthew 7. Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 through 27. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell. And great was the fall of it. It's very simple. Be what's wise. Nobody likes to be a fool. I never like to be a fool. If I'm wrong, I'm going to try to make sure 100% that I'm not wrong. I mean, like, I will search the depths of the internet. I will find whatever proof I need to make sure that I'm right. Because I don't like to be wrong. I don't like to be a fool. With this, it's very simple. There's no searching that needs to be done. We do what's wise. We do what Scripture says. See, I'm sick and tired of hearing about how foolish people think, or how foolish people think other people are so foolish, when they themselves are doing things that make them foolish. I'm sick and tired of hearing that. These people are doing such wrong, and they're so wrong, and they're doing so much damage to the church, and they're doing so much damage to our country, or they're doing so much damage to fill in the blank, whatever community, when we ourselves are doing damage. And I saw a post last night, and it's heartbreaking. It was a group of people, I think it was in Searcy, Arkansas, maybe it wasn't that. It was at some college. And there were people protesting, and they had, banners and everything. You've seen this before. And all these banners that they were holding up, it was all about how God hates gay people, or God hates sexually impure people, or God hates people that cohabitate, and all of this stuff. What does that do for the kingdom? I'll tell you right now, it does way more damage to the kingdom than it ever does good. And it's the same thing that happens when we post whatever about our political beliefs and then tie it to the church. It does way more damage to the kingdom than it will ever do good. And that's not wise. And all that does is shows the world how foolish we are. All that does is shows God how foolish we are. And so it doesn't matter how good you think you're doing. It doesn't matter how good I think I'm doing. It doesn't matter how much we have, how established our life is. It doesn't matter any of it. None of it matters if you aren't good by God's standard. None of it matters if you don't have the fruits of the Spirit. None of it matters if your foundation isn't on the rock of Jesus Christ and His Word. None of it matters. And so we have to live the right kind of life. The kind of life that calls people's attention to Christ. In a good way, right? Not the kind of life that shows people how bad the church is. But the kind of life that shows people that the Christ that we serve, the God that we serve is good, and it shows through His people being good. We have to live the kind of life that says, I recognize that just as I need God's love, His peace, His patience, His kindness, goodness, and gentleness, you also need, and you also deserve that kind of love, that kind of peace, patience, gentleness, goodness, kindness. You also need it, just like I do. The kind of life that says, Lord, I'm not just claiming your name while still living for me. But God, I'm claiming your name because every part of me, every part of my life needs to revolve around and reflect you. Every word I say, every move I make in this life, every time I approach someone or encounter someone else, that needs to revolve around and reflect Him. That's the kind of life we need to live. See, when we live this kind of life, the one founded on God's Word, the one that is founded not on the words of our favorite politician or historic figure, the kind of life that revolves around God's Word, that's founded on God. The kind of life where we treat people the way that we're commanded to, when our lives are so full of God's will, we will see the world begin to recognize the church as something good. We'll see the world begin to recognize Christianity is not this hateful religion, not this stupid religion, not this foolish religion, not one that just preaches hate, but they'll see the good, the pure Christianity. And I think God will too. God will see Christians as He wants to see them, as living out His commands, as living out His will, and not our own. They'll recognize us as His. Does that not sound wise to you? It sure sounds wise to me. As I go back to Matthew 7, where Jesus says, "Depart from me, I never knew you." And I go back to that thought of, if I went home and my grandma said, "I don't know you. I never knew you. You disgraced this family, get away from me." Or if I went home to my wife and she says, "I don't know you. You disgraced our marriage, depart from me." The heartbreak that would come from that. I imagine that, and then I think about the heartbreak that would come from hearing that from God. You know, on that day when we face His judgment, if I get to those gates that we talk about all the time, if I get there and I stand before Christ and He says, "No, you're not mine." I think about that heartbreak. And if that's not enough to change how you live your life, I don't know what is. And then I add this on top of that. The pain. The sorrow, honestly, of getting there and facing that judgment and hearing those heartbreaking words and then being cast out into the eternal darkness and fire. And it even says the fire that was prepared for Satan and his followers. Now imagine that. You're already heartbroken because, well, my Father, the God that I love, He doesn't know me. And now I have to suffer for eternity. Even though I lived a life that I thought was good enough, even though I lived a life that I thought was what I needed to be doing, it meant nothing. As James says, it's worthless. And so I don't want to close this on a bad note. There's hope. We talk about hope. There is hope in our lives, in our eternity, if, this is a big if, huge if, because a lot of times we miss this, if we will live our lives by God's word, founded on His rock, not on our own thoughts, not on the thoughts of whatever political figure you subscribe to or historic figure you subscribe to, and not on the thoughts of our parents. Because, newsflash, Mama and Daddy got it wrong sometimes. I I know that's hard to hear. Grandma and Grandpa got it wrong sometimes. But the one thing that never gets it wrong is the Bible. The one thing that never gets it wrong is God's Word. And so if we live our lives by God's Word, and by only God's Word, there's hope that when we get to that judgment, Christ will say, well done, my good and faithful servant. I do know you. I do recognize you. And we won't be cast out. We won't hear those heartbreaking words, and we won't have to suffer an eternity of hell. And so I'm going to close with this. I believe the ones that we need to recognize, the ones that we need to recognize is the world and our God. Those people, they won't recognize us as anything worth being associated with until we do what's wise. Until we bear the kind of fruit that screams Jesus. Because they will know you by your fruits. The world will know you by your fruits. They will know me by my fruits. The world or God will know us by our fruits. And if the fruits that we bear aren't the ones that scream Jesus, that reflect Christ and all of His goodness, they won't recognize us. But we live the lives that do scream Jesus and do scream, I'm a child of the one true King. And we have no worries. We have no doubt that our life is going to be good. Not only on this earth, but in heaven. We have no doubt that people will see the church as good. And hopefully from that they'll see God as good. And that's what our mission is on this earth. That's what our goal is as a church here in Long Beach. We don't come to this nice building. We don't get up on Sunday mornings and come sing with each other and listen to a sermon and sit in a hot building and wear masks. We don't do this for nothing. We do this to represent a God that is good and a God that saves. If we live the right kinds of lives, we can show the world outside of this building that. The world will know us by our fruits. Our God will know us by our fruits. So, how fruit we bear? I hope and I pray that it's the kind that screams Jesus. Pray. Father, we thank you for this morning, and we thank you for the great blessings that you provide us. We're especially grateful for your Son and all that He is and all that He does for us. And Father, we thank you for His salvation. We thank you for the fact that on this morning we get to come here and we get to sing praises that scream, God is good. That we get to sing praises that scream, God is faithful, that scream, we have a hope, Jesus. And Father, as I just tried to give a message from your word, Father, I pray that it would prick our hearts. I pray that it would break our hearts, transform us. Let us know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and why. Father, let the world see the church as good. Let the world see a church that is truly seeking for change, truly seeking for better, truly seeking to glorify a God that is good. Father, let our religion not be worthless. Let everything that we do, everything that we say, everything that we believe be founded on your rock, your word, Father. And this morning I pray that you would just put fruit on us. Help us to bear fruit that screams Jesus. That when the world sees this fruit, that they don't see this nasty, this fruit that they don't want anything to do with. Father, let them see fruit that looks good. Father, let them see fruit that tells them they want to be a part of it. Let them see fruit that tells them that they need to be a part of it. Because, Father, we know that your word has something in store for everyone in it. Father, we know that your goodness, your righteousness, Father, your salvation is something that everyone needs, Father, that everyone should want. And so, God, I pray that we as a church here in Long Beach, pray that we would be a church that screams Jesus. No matter how loud the world gets, Father, no matter how loud the sinful nature of this world gets, Father, that everything we do screams louder than that, because we know that darkness cannot drive out the light, but it is the light that drives out darkness. So Father, I pray that you would help us to be that light, help us to be a church that shines brighter than all the darkness in this world. Father, let people know that the church here at Long Beach, Father, the church all over the world is good. And that we don't live for us. We don't live just to look better, and we don't live just to feel good about ourselves, but Father, we live for you. God, help us to always live for you. Help us to do what is good. Help us to do what is wise. Father, I pray that the fruit that we bear is a fruit that shows the world just how good you are. And that our lives revolve around you always. Father, we love you and we praise you. It's in Jesus' name we pray.
How deep the Father's love for us, how vast beyond all measure, that He should give His only Son to make a wretched treasure. How great the pain of searing loss, the Father turns His face away, as wounds which for the chosen one bring many sons to glory. Behold the man upon the cross, my sin upon His shoulders. Ashamed, I hear my longing voice call out among the scoffers. It was my sin that held Him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. I will not boast in anything, no gifts, no power, no wisdom, but I will boast in Jesus Christ, His death and resurrection. Why should I gain from His reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart. His wounds have paid my ransom, but this I know with all my heart. His wounds have paid my ransom. Let's share the week together this morning. Father, you are the great, you are the almighty. Father, you created both heavens and earth, and you created us, and you breathed life into us. Father, you own everything, and yet you left the beauty of heaven to come to earth, to live and to die, and ultimately to be resurrected. And Father, as we share communion together this morning, as we take this bread and fruit of the vine, that we will be reminded of what it took, of the great sacrifice that you made. And may we be reminded that it was all for us, each one of us this morning. So help us, Father, to never forget. Help us to remember, especially this morning as we eat together, as we remember your Son and your gift. In Jesus' name we pray. the last couple of weeks for a reminder of who we are, what we need to be. It's hard to, it's easy to forget sometimes. Thank you, Lord, for loving me, and thank you, Lord, for blessing me. Thank you, Lord, for making me whole and saving me. My soul, I want to thank you, Lord, for loving me. Thank you, Lord, for saving my soul. Let us all with one accord sing praises to Christ the Lord. Let us all unite and come to praise Him all day long. I want to thank you, Lord, for loving me. Thank you, Lord, for saving my soul. Please reveal your will for me so I can serve for eternity. Use my life in every way. Take hold of it today. I want to thank you, Lord, for loving me. Thank you, Lord, for saving my soul. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord, for loving me. Thank you, Lord, for saving my soul. Don't forget to take the name of Jesus with you this week. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I've been so encouraged. Thank you for being here. Stay safe. I pray for the day when we meet without having masks and worried about rioting and looting and all that stuff. So be in prayer, folks. Prayer is powerful. Take the name of Jesus with you, child of sorrow and of woe. It will joy and comfort give you. Take it and wherever you go. Precious name, oh my sweet, oh the worth and joy of heaven. Precious name, oh my sweet, oh the worth and joy of heaven. Take the name of Jesus ever as a shield from every snare. If temptation find you gather, breathe that holy name in prayer. Precious name, oh my sweet, oh the worth and joy of heaven. Precious name, oh my sweet, oh the worth and joy of heaven. All right, if you'll dismiss one row at a time, starting in the back, then you can visit outside.
Contribution.
Contribution, don't forget that.